Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Eric.
I'm Philip, and welcome to our home on Sutton Place.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Eric Lysdahl, and I'm an interior designer based in New York as well as central New Jersey. And this is my partner, Philip. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks. I'm Philip Norkeliunas, and I'm an international realtor based out of central New Jersey and also New York and soon to be Florida. I'm also a vintage jewelry dealer internationally, with specializing in 18th century silver as well. And together, Eric and I have been enjoying sharing our homes and our lifestyle and entertaining as beautifully and graciously and as fun as possible.
Hopefully inspiring a few people along the way. So
we wanted to be back in the city. We had lived here many years ago when we were beginning our careers. And I had lived in Europe for a while, and Eric also was here, but we decided to come back to the city, having lived in New Jersey in the last 2 years.
And we have a very active social life in New York. So to drive in from New Jersey 2 and 3 nights a week, and often having to spend the night in a hotel, I mean, much as we love the Lowell, we don't want to be residents there, and it's pricey, so it just made sense to get a place that would be a pied-à-terre in Manhattan.
Well, and we started looking again on the Upper East Side. That's where I had been for about 15 years when I finished graduate school, and that's also where Eric was, just a few blocks from me all those years ago, up in the...
17 years on Madison Avenue.
Yeah, and we loved this area, and then we just discovered that a lot of the townhouses we liked had very rickety staircases, and they were walk-ups and really didn't quite fit our needs. And then we found on 57th Street a building with a 24-hour doorman and elevator in a recently renovated 1929 sort of classical building. And we were on Sutton Place, where I have a lot of dear friends.
And a wood-burning fireplace. I mean, that's really why we were looking in older buildings, because we wanted some height to the rooms. And we found a 20th century building with a wood-burning fireplace in it. So Philip, you loved this space, this entry space in this pre-war apartment, which is wonderful because they were actually designed to be multi-purpose and serve as kind of a mini dining area. And I think back in the day, they typically would have like a console table that would flip out, and they would use folding chairs for dining chairs and set up for a dinner. But what we did is we kind of treated this in a way that it would suit two functions, where you have this table that's almost like a center table. It's a pedestal table, Art Deco with lucite reeded base and this terrazzo top. And these ghost chairs, or knockoff ghost chairs, if you will. These are great because they can be stacked and get tucked into a closet. So if we were to have a dozen people here for cocktails, we could have a floral arrangement in here and have some hors d'oeuvres on this, and people can very freely walk through here and be served drinks and whatnot. So.
And comfort is key. I mean, these are ergonomically designed to hug one's lower back, and they're very comfortable if you're sitting here for a few hours. They're also reminiscent or evocative of a Louis XVI style chair of the 18th century. So they have dialogue with some of the other French pieces in the apartment, and they take a lot of abuse. They're kind of casual looking, and they're fun, and kind of like them.
And the cheetah pattern rug is just kind of a innocuous little addition of texture, and it's another wink to Elsie de Wolfe and Tony Duquette. So they were in my foremost in my mind, I think, when I was selecting elements here. And then this wonderful light fixture, which when we walked out of Kips Bay and you saw this in the window at Jonathan Adler, you had to have it. And I think it's great in here. It's perfect.
Yeah, it reminds me of almost of a sea creature a jellyfish or something. It's organic looking, and it's also sort of Art Deco, and I love the cabochon, again, moonstones. I mentioned the moonlight that comes through the windows at night here. You know, this is sort of a poetic piece.
And vaguely Art Deco in a way, kind of with the basin shape and those globes on it.
Yeah, and casual.
Yeah. Well, as this is a rental apartment, because we weren't sure how long we would stay here, or if we'd like this neighborhood, or if we found something better, or what have you, you can't start putting expensive wallpapers and the kind of things that we would like to do, for example, like we did in the country. So I just can't abide a plain wall, though. I have to have some kind of texture and some kind of rhythm going on. So opted to do a stripe pattern that's actually painted. So this is actually decorative paint. You paint the ground color, the light color first, and then when it's dry, you tape out the stripes and paint your dark color over, and then remove the taping. So it's fairly simple, it's just very time consuming, but what it does is when you enter this doorway here into this vestibule, you've got a rhythm that continues through to the sunken living room, and it really does to sort of not only expand the depth of the space, but also give an illusion of greater height. And we do actually have some height to work with here. I mean, they've got a good 9 or 10 feet in the living room with the recess.
And then the art, again, we wanted to stay with more fun, contemporary sort of a theme. I found these Roy Lichtenstein prints that I just loved. They're just amusing, and I loved Superman when I was a child. That was my hero, and primary colors. And this one says, "I'm supposed to report to Mr. Bellamy, and I wonder what he's like." You know, it has some connotations of, well, humor, and it's fun. So, but then we found these engravings. This actually, I didn't mean for these to remain in the apartment, but they filled the wall nicely. This is from a scene in 1745. It's the marriage of the Dauphin of France to Marie Theresa, the Infanta of Spain. Sadly, she passed away in childbirth a year later, but this is the most important rendering of what life at the court of Versailles was like in the 18th century, and it's by an engraver called Cochin. And it's the Hall of Mirrors, and everyone is in a magnificent costume dress, and all of the lustres, the chandeliers are full of candles, and it's just one of the most sumptuous interiors ever engraved of Versailles, of its time. And we found these recently at Doyle's at the Dalva Brothers sale. And Dalva Brothers, for many decades, were the leading vendors of 18th century continental furniture in the world. So this was a bit of an homage to Dalva Brothers in the 18th century here. So. And
you were saying to a friend of ours when you were describing these that this was the Instagram of the 18th century, because these engravings were done and they were distributed to every court in Europe. And they went abroad, and this was to really publicize, the splendor of Versailles and the court of the French kings. And so most people would never be able to actually see this room. So this kind of imagery going out across Europe was, like a big PR thing for them as well.
As a folio,
Yeah.
These were large folio books, and engravings were done of state occasions, peace accords, summits of those times, funerary masses,
Right.
and
well, the
concerts.
Their wedding here in the Royal Chapel
Absolutely.
at Versailles.
So it's really what the high media would have been of the time period. So now we'll go into the living room, where I can talk a little more about the contemporary art that we are displaying. So the centerpiece of the room really is this work by Gonzalez de la Calle, and it's a work that I found in India many years ago at the Delhi International Art Fair, and I fell in love with it. I've always loved sheep ever since I was a small boy in Williamsburg, visiting the flocks there, and there's a great sort of feeling of peace and innocence in this painting. And there's some other themes too that I found very personal and evocative. I find him to be a very talented artist, and I've enjoyed following his work since 2016. And then there's some other things in the room that I love. I found this work by a famous Cuban artist. This is by Humberto Dionisio, and sadly he passed away only in his 30s. But he trained in Cuba and moved to Miami, and this is one of his paintings of, I believe, John the Baptist. I love Keith Haring, have to have some of his work. I thought he was such a brilliant artist who made art so accessible to the general public through incredible art installations. And when I was in college, my college roommate gave me this work. This is by Keith Haring, done in 1988, but it's the National Coming Out Day poster, and I can still see my roommate Eloy opening our closet door in our dorm room and imitating this figure and hearing his infectious laugh. It was just wonderful. And so I treasure this as a memento of my college days and the wonderful friendship I have with Eloy. And then the other work that I love in the room, this is a fellow called Hank Hudson, and Eric and I found this work in Provincetown 2 summers ago. I love it because it's called Herring Cove Beach, and in my youth I also frequented Herring Cove Beach, and it just reminds me of many fun, sun-filled afternoons by the seaside, where I made many friends. So we have some other works here. I have Kazimir Malevich. I love his work as well. And Eric, you love this piece.
With the Vasarely. Yeah, well, because it's architecture, it almost looks like a kind of a scene from the opening of Mad Men, where you can just picture the man falling with the postmodern buildings in the backdrop. And at the end of the day, the blues, it all works, in terms of the scheme of the room. So it just adds a little visual interest, and nothing terribly personal.
This piece is something that we found in Boston together. And the eboniste is a fellow called Ferdinand Beury. And Beury was one of the most important cabinet makers of 18th century France. He worked with Martin Carlin and also Henri Riesner in creating very masculine architectural neoclassical pieces. This is made out of acajou moucheté, which is a form of mahogany. It's like a plum pudding mahogany grain. And mahogany was so rare in the 18th century that they decided not to over-embellish it with gilt bronze ormolu. So this piece is very reserved, very masculine, very fine lines, and almost modern, its execution. So I thought it would be nice to have this to complement the Russian abaton, the desk in the
Secretary.
In the corner there, and continued a little bit with the mahogany sort of natural wood theme in the apartment. Eric took a lot of the work on himself for this project. We found pieces, we spent time driving the pieces in together. We found this piece in Boston, we found that table in Massachusetts also. We had to coordinate having things delivered to a building that has a very short window for deliveries too.
Right.
It's a little complicated in terms of doing it ourselves. But Eric did, I would say, 97% of this project.
And it's a one-bedroom apartment, so how much can you really put in here? The most time-consuming thing was the painting of this space. That really was, and then I operate quickly. I kind of chose things, ran it by you approved it, and ordered, and it was just a question of getting things together. So it really came together in 2 months.
But you weren't afraid to do really bold things.
Right.
I
had to talk you into the
the
striping.
envelope, which is great for me because I'm kind of stodgy about some things, and and it's wonderful because it's a mix of both of our tastes, and you made it fun and beautiful.
Thank you. Since we weren't determined on how long we wanted to try this neighborhood out, or we opted for a rental building, and that just gave us some flexibility. And the drawback to that is there are limitations as to what you can do with it. wallpaper would have been out of the question. So the striped walls were decorative painted, and that's something that's very easily painted over if you decide to move out and, you know, give the unit back. So that was definitely a consideration. There weren't going to be any major construction or finish things that we were going to be leaving behind. So it was really going to be probably more object driven and what we could do with paint. So as I said, painted the walls, striped, decorative painted, gives a little an illusion of height to the room, and this darker saturation of color allows the moldings that are already here, like the fireplace and the baseboards, to sort of pop on their own in the white. And then as far as furnishings, I mean, we use some things that we already have. I mean, I basically started the color scheme with this pair of 18th century Louis XV chairs that had this marvelous fabric. Philip, you had this done for your London apartment, and
Yes,
it's a beautiful gaufraged velvet. And unfortunately, I mean, they were in our library in New Jersey on the second floor, and they were never seen, let alone sat in. And so I said, well, why don't we bring those to New York, and then I'll work the wall color around that. I didn't want it to be an all blue space. I wanted it to have a gem-like quality, because this is like a jewel box. It's, you know, we're in a small space. It's a one-bedroom apartment. So I thought, well, sapphire blue, and we'll throw in some emerald green, and I even found an emerald-shaped mirror to put over the fireplace in green glass. And then kind of just took it from there with accessorizing with malachite, you know, which is a semi-precious stone, and some rock crystal accessories on the table beside us. So that's really kind of, that was the direction. And then there were a few antique pieces that from Philip's collection that we brought in, and then we mixed it up with some modern things to keep it younger and a little bit more urban, and give it more of a New York vibe. So what was it? We were coming out of the Kips Bay Show House, and Jonathan Adler's flagship store is right on the corner, and that caught your eye, which surprised me, because the traditionalist here with his 18th century everything, you know, you were drawn to the pieces in Jonathan Adler, and so we incorporated some of that in the apartment.
Well, they were fun pieces. They were contemporary. They were attractive and very beautiful, I thought, with the colors and the contemporary finishes, and they were fun. I thought, why don't we mix in more humorous, fun, beautiful things with the 18th century? And then I decided we would have nothing but contemporary art in the apartment, which is also wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a real break from the more conservative side of myself.
Yeah, no old masters in this one.
Oh, it was great. So we had fun with Jonathan Adler, and his style seems to work very well with our color schemes as well, and kind of our lifestyle now. We're more relaxed. I don't take myself as seriously as I did years ago. I mean, life goes on, and
Comes with age.
surround yourself with things that bring you joy, and
Right.
and have a sense of humor, and some things that instill memories, of course, some sentimental things.
And if everything's too precious, you don't own it, it owns you. So, and like with the Jonathan Adler, it actually tied into the whole gem notion of the philosophy of the apartment. Like this cabinet here with these marvelous blue cabochons. They're like sapphire cabochons on the doors. And then we have a light fixture from the same collection. I think it's called Globo. And that's in our entrance/dining area. And that also has the cabochon gems on it.
It's a very sunny apartment also. We get moonlight coming through the windows at night, as well as the sun. And of course, one has to adjust to the Alfred Hitchcock rear window effect.
Yes, yeah.
Because we can
Having
observe our
neighbors that you can see
on
again.
their
yeah.
penthouse terrace there. It's a little awkward sometimes if we're both out and about, but we're very respectful of other people's privacy, of course.
That's a New York thing.
Yeah.
You just get accustomed to it. Everyone's used to that.
I never would have chosen this color for a sofa or this design, and it's fabulous. I mean, it holds you, it comforts you. It's also, for me, I saw it and I thought, oh my God, that is so Star Wars. it is so, space age in a way. And yet it worked with the malachite, and it was, brilliant, I thought.
Well, with the blue walls, with the dark color, I would have probably, my first instinct to it, I would have liked a lighter sofa, maybe a whiter off-white. But we are in Manhattan, and no matter how good your windows are, there is a type of dust that makes its way through even the tightest windows. And I know that, like, in a year, it would look dingy. And then plus that, then you feel precious about sitting on it. Like, if either of us wants to have our shoes on and just sprawl there, come in and flop down on it after a day of shopping or what have you, I mean, you can do it, and it can take the abuse. And at night, the dark green velvet looks clubby and masculine and vaguely English, and that, kind of suits us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm still fussy about these chairs, though, because I had these for over 20 years, and they were a wreck before I had them recovered in London. And this is razor cut velvet in the chrysanthemum pattern with down cushions, and it's just so, over the top. So I'm getting used to using them.
You told me what you paid to have them upholstered in London, and I'm like, no one sits in them. No, honestly.
No,
it's a down-filled cushion, and it's all puffy like this, and it's like falling into a marshmallow. It's wonderful. They're very comfortable, and they're wide. So, I mean, big guys like us can sit in this and not feel like we're going to break something.
It's great. Enjoy it.
The andirons you had in London, great. I love the overscale with the kind of small dwarfed mantelpiece, and left the mantle as it was. I was kind of tempted to zhuzh it up a little bit. I'm like, no, I just leave it alone. The white, it kind of just fades into the background. And Philip had those wonderful candelabrum that were in his. Were those? I
had these in the bedroom of my house called Blairsden years ago, and I just love them because they're neoclassical.
And we picked that clock up together, and I thought, okay, it's going to start reading really formal. And I knew of this mirror. I'd used it in other projects. It's from a company called Villa and House, formerly known as Bungalow 5. They do it in a cobalt blue and an amethyst, and then an antiqued mirror version. And initially I was thinking the blue, and I thought it's just too much blue on blue, and we wanted to carry this whole emerald effect, to carry the green. So I think that was a successful foil there, and it's got a modernism that's a foil to this ornate ormolu thing going on here.
And it's like emeralds. It's like
it's like a gem.
Faceted large brooch or something.
Yeah.
Great.
The fireplace. I had mentioned that my maxim was we had to have a fireplace. I think you wanted that too. So we were looking at townhouse apartments, Brownston, and the problem, they had tiny, tiny bedrooms that you wouldn't even be able to fit a queen-size bed in. And they were usually walk-ups, and we can't be inviting the kind of people that we have for clients and friends. You can't have them come into a walk-up. So, and we had to do a reality check that we were going to have to be in a doorman building. So we found this great 20s building, saw the fireplace. I assumed that maybe it had been a gas one or it was just decorative. And shortly after taking the apartment, a handyman from the building was in here, and I said, were they gas? He said, no, they burn wood. I'm like, what do you mean they burn wood? He's like, yeah, they burn wood, just make sure the damper's open. Yeah. And it was like this like the heavens opened up. Oh my God, we have a working fireplace. And I said, people use them. Everybody uses them, he said. So we're looking forward. We have not lit it yet.
Probably a Duraflame for the first time, something simple.
And should probably get a grate to lay over that.
Screen or something.
Yeah, but that'll be a fun thing. We're going into fall now, and we'll be having wonderful holiday entertainments here.
Yeah.
So.
This to me, because we don't have another room for an office, we had to think, where were we going to have a desk? And so I had this small secrétaire à bâton desk in sort of a Russian style, also influenced by the work of David Röntgen. But it's just a really intimate writing desk where I can write thank you notes and all sorts of things. It does close nicely. So if we want to create more space in the room, we can have it closed, and it will show off the mahogany and the ebony of this piece, but it's sort of a nice sort of directoire 1790s piece. 1800. And it came from the Marché aux Puces in Paris. So it has a nice memory of selecting this for when I had an apartment in Paris. So nice to be an EU citizen and have some pieces to remind me of the fact that I'm a global citizen still. Malachite theme, this was a box I bought when I was in Senegal, when I was in my early 20s, in my college days. And other malachite pieces. Eric presented me with a lot of these pieces as gifts, and I have a malachite elephant here, which was a gift from my brother. And yeah, it's a useful piece. It holds a lot of stationery and files. Again, we're in a small apartment, so we need to find lots of storage space in the furniture.
So in terms of contemporary furnishing choices to mix in, another wonderful Jonathan Adler piece from his Globo collection, and we love because of these gem-like cabochons in it, and the white lacquer. It's very streamlined, and I love the perky little sort of 50s metal legs on it. And it's useful. This doubles for our entertaining purposes. So we've got a bar on one side, and then we have things for doing afternoon tea and coffee. On the other, we have like the better china glasses and the silver gilt tea service, and then we have all the crystal and some liquor down there. And this serves its function in this room for our entertaining purposes. And then, for example, lighting. So we had to carry some contemporary lighting through here, and this is a great fixture, incredibly simple design from Arteriors. And I forget the name of it, but it's just they're just gilt iron discs, that are lit inside, and it just casts a wonderful glow. And actually, when you're sitting on the sofa, when you're lower looking up at it, it's a marvelous lit sculptural piece. And now that I'm looking at it, I think it looks like we're being invaded by UFOs. You've got Close Encounters of the Third Kind here in the entry. I'm waiting for the beams to come down and the music to start, and then this looks like something from Plan 9 from Outer Space
or Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's or the Death Star or something. We've got these spaceship light fixtures in here, so
and a touch of gold.
Exactly.
You never have too much.
Yeah, always. So the rug. This is a woven sisal in a. It's like a Greek key put on an axis to create these diamond lozenge patterns. And it's a classic design that's used by a lot of decorators. I bought this online from Safaviya. I found the Ottomans online from Safaviya. So there were a lot of price-friendly, user-friendly things that were easily and quickly accessible that we could purchase to mix with the antiques and get this place finished, in a short amount of time so we could start enjoying it. So this is another find that we had to run up to Massachusetts for. I just by chance found this. Actually, a friend alerted me to it. It's a gilt bronze gueridon table. And the objects that are on these three pieces are by a Brazilian artist called, it's actually a group, I think it was 3 women called Grupo Gal, and they're from the 80s or 90s, and it's sterling silver with these chunks of natural mineral rock crystal on them. And this one's actually a piece of amethyst, it's very pale. But this one was presented to me as a birthday gift by a top antique dealer in Brazil called Marcos Rezende. And then when I was visiting him in Brazil, I found the other 2. And that's mixed in with a couple pieces of Lalique, and then found these wonderful lamps from Curry and Company, and they have the beautiful sort of curved cabochon bullions on them that kind of mimic the Jonathan Adler pieces. And then, of course, naturally, these wonderful handmade lampshades by Ron at Illume, and it's done in vintage Tony Duquette malachite fabric. So again, we've got the Tony Duquette, Elsie DeWolf combination going on with the influences here.
Some other Jonathan Adler pieces we loved that day when we came out of the Kipsbay Show House, we saw this lamp. and I just loved the cubism of it. It's just the angles, the feel of it. It's so unlike anything I've ever owned, and I just thought it was, you know, such a contrast with the 18th century. And it's fun. It's new. It's jarring and
Little edgy.
yeah, great shape. And then we found some other items that Jonathan Adler had done in the past. I found this online, this wonderful box with the colors and the lacquer. And then this I absolutely fell in love with. I just think he's so talented as a potter and ceramicist. Love the color and the little touch of platinum, and again the dots with the dots of the Hank Hudson. And then we even found this little homage to Jeff Koons at our favorite local TJ Maxx. So we can
Do we
mix
shop in TJ Maxx?
Yeah, we shop everywhere. What I'm very impressed with Eric as an interior designer is his ability and talent to arrange things quickly and beautifully. He has great instinct for assembling collections of objects and use of light and fabric and texture. He was respectful of all of my previous collections and integrated those in with his own ideas of contemporary furniture and uses of space. I don't think we had any conflicts of
No,
of
because you
objects.
just gave me carte blanche.
Well, absolutely, it's a breath of fresh
You were
air.
in a panic about the wall color in the living room at first until you
that
actually
is
saw it
true.
on the wall and then realized it wasn't going to inhibit the light in here, because with these giant windows, we're flooded with light. And then this decor is really geared for nighttime entertaining when you have paintings that are lit with picture lights and table lamps with a low light setting, and you're having cocktails with people and you want a more clubby, softer mood.
You're absolutely right. I was originally against this striping in this dark color, and it really isn't that dark when it was finally put up on the walls.
Yeah.
But the original apartment was all white, and it was very light and airy, and I thought, oh boy, this is going to be jewel box.
Landlord white, we're not living with landlord white.
No.
But
so it's perfect. It's masculine. It's, you know, pays homage to the Regency period and some of my, you know, directoire and neoclassical French pieces,
and then we've got 20th century legend, you know, people that we've nodded to. For example, Elsie de Wolfe had a townhouse on Sutton Place, and there's kind of an homage to Elsie de Wolfe here, and Tony Duquette, which was her great protege, famous decorator and decorative artist in California. And in fact, the lampshades on either side of the sofa here are vintage Tony Duquette fabric in the malachite print that we found through a great source of mine and an old friend, Ron at Illume Lampshades. He had those made from vintage fabric. And yeah, there's kind of like, there's a thread of history of Sutton Place and designers and the decorative arts that come through. But to give my due, I did hand you the fan deck and you were allowed to choose the wall color for the bedroom.
that is true. I chose shrimp pink, which was a very comforting color, which actually now is more orange when you see the
Depends on the
accessories
light.
that Eric has chosen.
Yeah.
And I love the use of malachite and sapphire emerald colors in the apartment. Being a vintage jewelry dealer, you know, these are stones that mean a lot to me, and they're my favorite colors, especially the malachite. I've always been a fan of neoclassical Russian objects from the early 19th century, and you know, here we have wonderful examples of malachite now in the apartment.
Yeah.
Sort of a lucky color and a lucky stone.
It is.
If I could describe this apartment in one word, I would say chic.
God bless you. I mean, I can't. Is jewel box one word or two? I mean, that was really what I was going for, the aesthetic, because it's small, it's condensed, it's compressed. There's a lot of color and saturation and you know, shiny objects and references to jewelry. So and those are kind of my favorite spaces to do. I mean, my first apartment was on the Upper East Side in a brownstone, and that was published a couple of times, and again, jewel box. It was a one-bedroom apartment, but I had height, I had a fireplace, I had things to work with architecturally, and of course, you've had some much larger spaces that you've lived in, but they were definitely jewel boxes in terms of the kind of collections you had in them. So, the one design detail that I allowed you was you got to pick the color of the wall. And so, handing you the fan deck,
I said shrimp pink because my first bedroom in New York, I lived in a Stanford White townhouse between 78th and 79th on 5th. And my bedroom belonged to Georgie de Heredia back in 1905. And it was a decorator's show house in the 80s, and they put this beautiful color on the walls. And I woke up to this color, and it's just refreshing, it's soothing, and it's not quite pink, it's not quite salmon, but it's a warm color. And it's something I've had in my bedroom in London, and also now
in Florida.
Here.
In Florida too.
Oh, in Florida as well. Yeah. You're right. So thank you for allowing me that.
Yeah, that one
eccentricity.
Well, then again, we got into because this is so soft and light compared to the living room. I didn't want it to be schizophrenic. But that space is for public entertaining, and it's primarily for evening entertaining. This is where you go to bed at night and where you wake up in the morning, and it should be soothing, calming. So Philip hit the ball out of the park with the color choice. And then I just went really minimal, like with the bed, a little drama with a taller headboard. Philip had these wonderful Baroque mirrors that were in his London apartment, and I think you had those in the Bahamas as well.
They survived the Hurricane Irma. And they arrived in Florida covered in sand, but they survived.
It's a bit of a Dorothy Draper kind of element to it. Again, I keep quoting all the names of all these famous 20th century decorators, and then found these cabinets to flank the bed. It gives us a little extra storage. Bit of an Art Deco influence with these, and an Art Deco vase, and just
these
really,
chairs, these wonderful chairs.
Yeah, online, not expensive at all, and found this wonderful iCat fabric online. Did window treatments and some curtains, and a couple of pillow covers for it, and really, that's really all we needed in here. Another 30s element was, rather than having a carpet that covers the entire floor, you have the exposed wood floor, and then you just have these fur pelt rugs on either side of the bed. That's a classic kind of 30s design choice. And then bringing the malachite in here, Philip bought me these wonderful Stubbs & Wootton malachite needlepoint slippers. So there they are waiting for me. To put on.
You can click them and say there's no place like home, and you end up here.
Where you're already home.
That's right.
So, yeah. I specified these white painted chests with fluted fronts that looked very Art Deco, and then when we decided we were bringing these mirrors in here, I thought it's a little too much of the white, and how am I relating? I had to bring a little color in because we have all the green in the window treatments. So. In the pinstriping on the embroidery of the linen's fine, but somehow I stumbled upon this cabinet online, and we got two of them, and I was actually pleasantly surprised by the finish. When you buy something online, you just never know what you're going to get, and I thought, well, the price point was fine, so, and if we didn't like it, it was no great loss.
Well, but we had to assemble them.
We had to assemble them. That was
80 pieces.
A nightmare. But all in, it's great storage, and it has kind of like a French 40s look to it, with this wonderful gilt sunburst, in relief on the doors, and then just sort of carried that theme with a really innocuous flush mount LED light fixture that has the same, gilt rays going on.
So. And I was in Florida the last 6 weeks, and preparing a residence there, and Eric called me and said, do you have any paintings that you'd like to put in the bedroom here in New York? And I didn't really have any idea. I said, why don't you look in the storage room and see what you can find? And lo and behold, Eric pulled out these two works that have a lot of sentimental value for me. This one is a portrait of John Roosevelt, the youngest son of FDR and Eleanor. And I was born in Hyde Park, New York, where the Roosevelt home is, Springwood. And this painting actually, I believe, was at Valkill. It was a treasured possession of Eleanor Roosevelt, and she gave it to her son, John. This painting also reminds me of my first dinner in New York back in the late 90s. I had been seated at a Sotheby's dinner for the Duke and Duchess of Windsor sale, and on my left was Mimi Rowanoff, and on my right was Irene Roosevelt Aiken, the wife of John Roosevelt. And I have to say, Mimi was a little shocked that she had been seated next to an unknown, peasant from, Hyde Park, New York. But Irene Roosevelt Aiken was so gracious and interested in everything we talked about, especially the Roosevelt family and the role her son played there. So that was a nice memory of meeting her. And I look at this portrait in the morning and I see the shadow of Eleanor's face and also of FDR and how much they did for this country, getting us through World War II and the Depression, and just incredible heroes for me. And then Eric found this painting, which we purchased from our friends Richard and Russell at A Touch of the Past, the antique store where I sell from in Lambertville, New Jersey. And it turns out, when I did research on the work, Carl Laughlin was a very important painter in Bucks County who only did landscapes. And this is his self-portrait. It's the only one that exists. And sort of a dashing fellow. He was also a very important bagpiper, if I'm saying that correctly.
Piper.
Piper, there you are. But very handsome fellow to look at also.
Just for that, you're losing your Scots.
My Scots card.
Your Scots
ID
membership card.
That's it.
Confiscating your kilt.
Yeah, well. So yeah, we have this other project. I have a house in Naples, Florida that's being redone, and we're trying to figure out how we want to do it. I mean, do we bring down, again, more traditional pieces, or do we start with a clean slate and do something very different?
I think it should be fresher. Yeah. We'll still always have a few antiques, but yeah, we need some more whimsy, I think.
Oh,
yeah,
totally.
and color.
This is so whimsical and different and new.
It's a 4-bedroom house, right?
Yeah, it's a 4-bedroom villa in Naples with
Mediterranean style, would you say?
Yeah,
stucco.
Almost like a villa, I guess you'd call it. It's large open spaces, high ceilings, water views, and very light and airy. The high ceilings are the real winner for me in this place. So we want to keep things very light, very airy, have some spaces that are a little more formal than others, but mostly relaxed, especially in the bedrooms, would you say?
Yeah. You think this is a little too much? It might put some of our guests off, I don't know.
Oh no, it's
a fertility kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a reference to fertility.
I think
the vases.
That's even better.
Yeah.
There's something almost sort of religious about them.
And I need this for the candy jar so that it's watching you when you're dipping into it all the time. There we go.
Would you do 2 of these on a sideboard, or would you just do the single?
I don't know.
On a table?
I don't know if I would do it at all. It might,
I
be a stretch for me.
I absolutely love it. Look at that. And it's porcelain, I think. It's great. But the light fixtures, I think, are great. Like
Yeah.
something like that is,
That's a lot of fun.
it almost has like a bamboo kind of like feeling
Exactly.
to it also.
Right.
That could work, don't you think?
Yeah,
And
with chinoiserie motifs in the rest of the room, why not?
that, I think, would be ideal.
I like the one further down over that center table where all the acrylic objects are. See past that?
Oh, with
globes?
with the
Yeah, let's go have a
painted
look at
metal,
that.
yeah.
It's more of your lacquer boxes.
I'm liking this also, you know?
Yeah, great little drink
Even
table.
for New York.
Yeah.
Don't you think that would be good next to one of
Next to the French
fauteuils?
chairs, yeah, as a little drink table.
Would you do two?
I don't know if
One
we
on-
need
on
to.
each side?
Maybe just one at the far end.
Because
would
it's
be
so
fine.
unique.
Yeah.
No, I really like this. Canon accent table.
Nice.
Let's remember that one
Okay.
too. But what do you think of these? I just think it's so humorous, no? Because you know someone's going to come in at a party and they're
mean-
going to say, "I need one of these right now."
I love the humorous aspect of it and the whimsy. Yeah, maybe. You need a large table to put that on though.
Yeah, and a bigger size, or is this large enough?
A larger table. That could work.
I like the multicolor.
Yeah.
No,
Multicolor, especially for Florida.
Would that be in the
Nice.
entry hall?
What about that in the great room?
That's a good idea
That
too.
nickel fixture with
That's because you have the height in the space
right.
and the chrome for it. Oh, it's my favorite lamp.
We selected this Globo fixture for our entry.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just love this fixture.
More than delighted with that.
It's very organic and reminds me of moonstones and a cabochon sort of brooch or even a jellyfish. It's almost nautical. That would be nice, in a Florida house too.
Do we want to repeat the same fixture though?
I don't mind that.
I like this
idea.
box. I think this would be nice on the coffee table, no?
Yes, it would have dialogue with the commode,
Yeah.
the Jonathan Adler commode.
Yeah.
This is great. Look at this.
Yeah,
Is
it's
this
beautiful.
a bar cabinet or just a regular? It's a bar
It's
cabinet.
like a bar.
That's fabulous. No? What do you think of this
I like that.
glass geometric design?
This would be nice too.
You like the lamp?
Yeah, I do.
I like it that it's so sharp, too. It's,
that's-
it's
Yeah.
great.
I'm afraid to touch it. But
Yeah. I don't know. I see like
Great looking.
cubism. I see
they did a chandelier like that at one time,
yeah.
a few years ago.
I think what I love about Jonathan Adler especially is his work with ceramics and how that's segued into other sort of design features and objects.
Yeah.
For furniture later on and lamps. I mean, everything is fun and unique and different and original.
But the designs are all very well informed about mid-century design, 20th century design, and there's a lot of whimsy, and that's truly, I think, the appeal is the whimsy, because it appeals to sort of all age levels, don't you think?
Well, I'm about to laugh my ass off at this fish. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really,
Yeah,
it's just great. And the elephant too. The whole thing is, it can be serious or it can be fun.
And look at these little groups of little dishes, wonderful hostess gifts.
Yes, cocktail, tail.
Yeah, great hostess gifts or to use for,
I love that.
yeah.
I think we have to get these. You can offer your guests some tail. Would you like some tail or
No. Let's keep it G
okay?
ready. Let's
Sorry.
keep it G rated.
G-rated. Okay. This is great for Florida. This is the crab,
Certainly.
Love
with
that.
the shells.
the lobster.
Yeah.
These look like cloisonne. Don't they look great? They look like they're lapis lazuli
Yeah,
amethyst. These I would like. Do you like these?
I do.
All right, something to remember there too. Do you like this?
That's more interesting.
Which one?
The boomerang stuff.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the boomerang shape here.
Would you do that against a flat wall like that?
Of course.
Or would you do it in a
of
corner?
course, you want it to count. You want it to pop out into the room.
How does that,
Furniture
how
is
does that feel?
sculpture.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's very comfortable. I have to say that. Wow. This really is one of my favorite pieces, though. I mean, it's almost like.
And the caned lamp behind you is nice, also for tropic.
But this reminds me of Picasso
Yeah.
or something, right? Like some of the Picasso ceramics. And it's gilt. And great storage. That would be a nice sort of like contemporary dining room piece, no?
Well, we already bought something for that.
And these little objects too. I mean, could you imagine something so smooth having such sharp points on it?
Yeah,
I mean, it's almost like
These
a
are
mine.
These are beautiful too, the shapes.
I think we have to get a couple of these, no?
Yeah.
This is just gorgeous. Do you think that would be nice for hors d'oeuvres?
Yeah, definitely.
Home is really a place where I can be with, of course, my most treasured loved one. It's a place also where I can recharge and absorb the world with whatever it hands me. And it's a place where I can either retreat, or it's a place where I can entertain and surround myself with dear friends and family. It's a place that should be safe and should hold memories, and it should be a place where one can feel relaxed and celebrate one's relationship.
Well said. Well said. I think the only thing I'd add to that, because I'm a designer and I create spaces not just for myself but for other people. And when I'm dealing with a client, for example, I'll ask them, how do you like to entertain? What do you like to do? And there's a whole questionnaire, and I create a psychological profile, if you will, of the client to figure out, like, how am I going to interpret, how am I going to create a home for them that reflects their aspirations, their fantasy, their greatest likes and passions. And that's really, I think I carry that into, all of our homes, whether it's New Jersey or Florida or here. It's just, and then we have similar tastes too. So there's never,
Luckily,
not
yes,
really
we
a
have.
battle, very seldom a battle.
A lot we both
Everything's-
enjoy.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.